and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove, and I'm joined by a man who, just like Christian Pulisic, is back with a bang. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. Yes, Christian Pulisic scoring 2, getting the, semi-assist for Dortmund in their preseason, and I'm sitting at a table.
Well, but you're sitting in the Total Soccer Show studio.
You're right.
For the first time in a good few days.
And I guess I am wearing the tour shirt,
yes,
which is the equivalent of a new jersey. That's what I'm going to say. So, yeah, it's the new season kit. Yeah.
So, yeah, to put this in context,
it's the exact same now.
We have been to Omaha, we have been to Kansas City, and we are on a brief trip back to Richmond before we move on to Ohio, Chicago, and Atlanta. We're at the midpoint of the tour, and our suitcases are full of swag.
This is definitely true. Or at least they were. I don't know if have you unpacked yet?
I unpacked.
Is that what I'm realizing?
Yep.
You have not?
You haven't?
Of course I have.
Oh, yeah, I have too, yeah.
But when you say they're in our suitcases, I was like, oh no, Daryl. No.
In Omaha, for the Omaha show, we got swag from the Bug Eaters, the Lincoln team, the Bug Eaters FC. Got a nice jersey, nice T-shirt. United Soccer Coaches in Kansas City gave us some really good swag, including a little coaching book with loads of drills in it.
That's super helpful.
Yeah.
Yes. So everyone has been incredibly kind.
Really have, right?
Incredibly welcoming, and all the food has been excellent so far.
All the food has been excellent.
I am slightly tempted to just not pack any T-shirts at all and just see if I can clothe myself from stop to stop.
Yeah.
But that could be risky because you either run into then maybe potentially having to wear something twice.
Yep.
Or maybe you just don't do that and then you're shirtless for a day.
All right, last bit of tour promo before we get to answering some listener questions.
Sure.
Monday night, it's our hometown show at the Richmond Funny Bone, 7:30 Monday, July 23rd. If you want to get a ticket, it's not too late. Go to totalsoccershow.com/tickets and you'll be landed on the ticket page. Then Tuesday night, we're in Virginia Beach. Then Wednesday night, we're in Cincinnati, and we roll on from there.
And if any of them sell out, which I'm fully expecting all of them to, because I'm ever the optimist, every show that sells out, Daryl will do 15 minutes of stand-up, improvised stand-up, no less.
Improv stand-up?
Yes, exactly. I believe in you.
I will invent a whole new genre
Perfect.
when we sell out a venue. You ready for today's questions?
Sure.
Would you like me to go first to asking, or would you like to go first and ask me?
Whatever would make your heart happy.
My heart would like to ask you a question. Sure. Okay, Shreyas Ramani has the first listener question on today's show. Shreyas asks, if you had to pick right now, who would be your favourites to win the 2019 Copa America, Euro 2020, and the 2022 World Cup?
Yes.
So I feel like some of these are more realistic to pick than others. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
So let me know, Taylor.
Sure.
Let's start with 2019 Copa America. Who do you think's winning that?
2019 Copa, I think there's one obvious favourite, and then I think there are two that I could see challenging. The obvious favorite, in my opinion, is Brazil. They're going to stick with Chichi. They're going to have that same group of players. They'll probably be able to strengthen in a few spots. So I think that makes them leading contenders.
You want to know the extra reason why?
What's that?
They're hosting.
That would also
Copa
help.
America 2019 is in Brazil. Yeah. So Brazil are hosting. I think they didn't panic, didn't press the ejector seat on Chichi, and I think it was the smart move. Yeah. I still maintain Brazil were the best team at the 2018 World Cup.
Yeah. So I'm with you there. Then the two other candidates, surprisingly not Argentina for me. I would say Uruguay. I think they're going to continue to be what Uruguay are.
Yeah.
I think maybe, though, this might be one of the last tournaments where we see them in their kind of full prime. Yep. It felt a little bit like Luis Suarez had dipped slightly at the World Cup. There were lots of criticism about his form. I think that might have been unfair, but I do think that this is maybe one of the last tournaments where they can really trot that team out and expect to get a result.
I think there's going to be a generational overlap where there's this Suarez, Cavani strike force, which is so key to their pressing and then to their counterattacks and all that. And they're going to slowly age out, but coming up behind them, you've got that midfield of Torreira and Rodrigo Bentancur, and these guys we're really excited about at the World Cup. And I'm hoping there's a point where Suarez and Cavani have still got it, but Torreira and Bentancur are mature enough and coming into their prime, and it might be 2019. It might be.
It might be.
And who knows with Argentina, right? We don't know what they're going to do coaching-wise, right? Was the Peru coach going to take over?
That was
Gareca?
the speculation
we don't know yet,
weeks
right?
ago. No, only recently has Sampaoli left.
Does Messi retire and do a whole Ewing theory thing? All that could happen with Argentina, right? But apart from that, I have no confidence in saying anything about them.
I mean, and that's the thing. That's why I have a hard time saying, usually you'd say, Brazil or Argentina, but Argentina looked so unstable in this World Cup. They've got a lot of questions to answer, and that's why the third team that I was going to mention is Colombia. Because with a healthy James Rodriguez, I think Radamel Falcao certainly has enough left to play one more year of that Radamel Falcao style that we've come to love and appreciate.
You mean borderline cheating, but definitely scoring goals?
I mean nothing of the sort, but yeah, that's what I mean.
Winning free kicks for James to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But you've got Davinson Sanchez, you've got Jerry Mina as those two young center backs who can anchor the team.
We had a pronunciation guide to Jerry Mina.
Yes.
It's both a Y, so it's spelled with a Y, but it's both a Y and a J at the same time somehow.
And I think Christian Polanco's point of the Cooligans was if he says it's Jerry, then it's Jerry. And just go with that.
So just listen to what he says.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
There we go. So all we got to do is get him in studio.
Sure.
We solve it.
Yeah, perfect. But I just think they've got the kind of superstars in enough positions to put them at that like second tier level, I would say, behind Brazil.
Yep.
But then they've got enough talent from top to bottom to have the depth to compete throughout a tournament.
Okay, I still say Brazil. What about 2020 Euros? Who's winning that, Taylor?
France.
I said that too. I wrote it's too obvious, but probably France. Yeah. Because now they seem like a dynasty. They seem like a machine, right? 2016 Euros final, 2018 World Cup winners. Those guys are... they're not getting any younger, and that's a good thing.
Yep.
Right? Everybody's coming into their mid-20s, scary prime. So 2020 Euros, I think, could be France's time to keep on rolling.
I would agree, and I would say also...
And maybe even be more exciting to watch.
That is possible, but I'm also not sure they need to be. Yeah. Because we saw in this World Cup, they do what they need to do. They get the results they need to get.
Counter-attack. We'll kill you on the counter-attack.
But they're not. But the other thing is that they're not playing an obvious system. Like, obviously, they have, like, similar formations, but what I mean to say is that it's not this, they're just going to sit back every time, or, they're going to do this, they're going to send these guys here.
It's tweakable.
Yeah, exactly. You can, and so, but it also means it's difficult to game plan against. It's not like, they did this one very unique thing that teams struggle to figure out.
Yep.
But with 2 years of preparation, everybody will know what they're doing. It feels like France can still just kind of bring in different variables and be just fine.
Euro 2020 is going to be weird as well, right? It's the 60th anniversary of the Euros. And so to celebrate that, which is, by the way, a weird anniversary, right? Who celebrates the 60th anniversary of a tournament? Instead of having one country host it, it's going to be a month-long tournament, 24 teams, like 2016 was, but scattered around, I think, 12 different cities, and then the semi-final throughout Europe, and then the semi-finals and final at Wembley in London, and fingers crossed England are there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we've got France, and we've got the format of the tournament. Do you have any other teams that you think could be in there?
There's some obvious ones, right? But like France feels like the pick right now, and there's a recency bias to that. But like Jogi Löw is staying with Germany. He's got a couple of years to rebuild, and maybe he's got a team that's ready to go in 2020. I think we didn't see the best of Spain at this World Cup, but I still think there's a great team inside that Spain 23. Maybe if they can have the same coach 48 hours before the tournament as at kickoff, maybe we'll see a bit more.
That would be ideal. It's a revolutionary approach, though.
Yeah, and then maybe England and Belgium, like World Cup semi-finalists, you can't really count them out. So Euro 2020.
I had Belgium certainly in there. The one that I had that you haven't mentioned is Italy. I think Italy, obviously kind of not coming to the forefront because of what happened, not playing in this World Cup, now under Roberto Mancini. Yep. They just have so much depth. I was looking at their recent call-ups and then their left off the roster recently call-ups, and it's just so many 20, 21, 22-year-olds. They've got so much depth and so much youth that I think they could kind of bring enough players in to look a little bit like France in this past World Cup.
And they got Jorginho as well. At risk of naming all the teams, what about the World Cup finalists, Croatia? Do you see them being a better team in 2020 than in 2018?
I mean, there's no reason to write them off aside from the fact that, basically, so go Luka Modric and Ivan Rakitic, go Croatia. Yep. And so as long as they continue to perform at peak level...
I think they're in their prime right now.
Yeah.
So I think they may be 2 years away from their prime in 2020. All right, to the 2022 World Cup. This is the one where I feel like Shreyas
America
shouldn't have asked because we don't know.
USA.
So 2022 World Cup, you think the US wins?
No.
No?
No, I do not.
I
know the US wins.
I found it hard to pick. I just wrote down Germany.
Oh,
I thought maybe 4 years from now, Jogi Löw would have done a full refresh of the German team. They will have either built bridges back to Mesut Ozil or moved on from Mesut Ozil's international retirement and have a whole new young team with Leroy Sané leading the charge.
Sure.
Yeah?
I think...
Kai Havertz. Go on, Kai Havertz.
I think we've done the same thing, basically, and gone with the two teams that we had in the two other tournaments we've already discussed were our leading contenders. So for me, it was Brazil and France. I had Brazil, and then I had Belgium in there as a possible contender.
Belgium is a contender for 2022 World Cup.
I mean, they're still plenty young themselves. They just need to get maybe... I know it's a radical idea, but maybe a left wing back, and they'll be just fine.
Carrasco's got it.
We'll talk about that much later on the show.
Oh, will we? All right, if you say so. Next question.
Yep.
Comes from David.
Actually, why don't I ask this one since it seems uniquely suited to your skill set of being English.
Okay.
David Luna asks, why is Great Britain broken up into England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland for the World Cup, but not for the Olympics?
So here's the answer.
They're too good.
They're too old, is the answer. So, yeah, it actually is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. That's what it says on my passport right now. That is the name of the country, right? So when we compete in the Olympics, it's Great Britain, right?
You got a unicorn on there.
There's a unicorn on there, yeah. But the reason England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland get this weird special status where they get to be an individual soccer nation despite not really being individual nations is because that's where football was invented. The first, where it was codified.
I kind of wasn't joking when I said because they're too good. Like, that is part of the reality, is that at the time, they were 4 independent countries who were all very, very good.
Yeah, and there is a weird thing with Ireland where when it was first formed, it was the Irish Football Association, but that transferred to the Northern Irish. So that's a whole separate thing. But the first international...
You don't want to wade into that one?
I do not. The first international in history, 1872... England versus Scotland.
And they let us forget it ever since.
But so for that reason, when it started to spread around the world, we still maintained English national team, Scottish national team, Welsh national team.
Do you have the lineups?
I have the lineup and the score in front of me. So 30th of November, 1872, in Glasgow, Scotland v England. Can you guess the score of the first ever international game?
I'm trying to read back here, but 1-0?
No.
Oh,
it was goalless. People said football's too boring. Luckily, the next March, England won 4-2, and goals and England beating Scotland were both invented in March 1873. Can you guess?
So what does all of that have to do with this question?
I just like talking about it. Can you guess how many people were in attendance?
12.
4,000, which is not that many, right?
I think 12 was actually correct, but they inflated the numbers for like season ticket holders and stuff.
Well, I guess season ticket holders. Soccer's in its infancy, right? So 4,000 is a good crowd for a new-ish sport. The other thing I want to share with you is that 3 of the starting members of the England team were called Charles, and 2 of the defenders were called Ernest and Reginald. The 1870s.
Have we even answered the question yet?
Yeah, we've answered that the reason that England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland have special exemption to be individual nations is that international football started with England and Scotland. So then when other countries were added, England and Scotland already pre-existed.
Exactly. So by the time FIFA is established, you have the individual members joining FIFA. All 4 of them are individual soccer or footballing countries.
There you go. Well, I sense you didn't enjoy my detour into soccer history.
It's unlike you to not go straight for the jugular and answer the question, then go into the trivia. So good to just make sure we got that point across. All right, I'm very happy that you were able to print out the starting 11s for both teams.
Well, I'm going to ask you the next question. Okay, Jason R. wants to know. Assume for a second that instead of Juventus, Cristiano Ronaldo, came to Major League Soccer, like right now. What would his impact be on the field? Could he improve his team any more than, say, Zlatan, who I think is averaging around a goal a game or so?
I'll answer those questions in reverse order. Yes, and massive.
I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo right now is one of the deadliest, most ruthless finishers in all of world football, right? I know he's 32, 33, whatever, but he is absolutely deadly. You drop him onto any MLS team and his on-field impact would be that he would shred defenders.
I mean, I would say he's definitely got, barring injury, 1 more World Cup to go. So I think, like, with that in mind, he's certainly going to continue to play at whatever peak physical condition will be for him at the age of 37, and I think so. Then you take that to Major League Soccer.
No, but now he's going now, and he's in great condition.
That's what I'm saying. He's like at 37. I think he would be able to do just fine. I think right now he would be the best player that has ever played in Major League Soccer at like any level. Like not saying like David Beckham was amazing, but he wasn't as good when he came. I'm saying Cristiano Ronaldo would be the best player to have ever played.
And even
at that point,
wonderful as Zlatan is, he is definitely on the downslide of his career, and he's still dominating in MLS. That's if you think that Ronaldo's much closer to his peak than Zlatan is, then that's all the math you need to do to figure out how great Ronaldo would be in this league.
I mean, put simply, Juventus didn't pay $100 million plus for Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and I mean, I think they maybe could have signed him on a free because Manchester United were willing to let him go. I think he even offered to play for free for another season for United, but in the end, he went to Major League Soccer. So I think you compare that to, there's no way Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be let go on a free to sign for an MLS club, and I think with that, if he moved to an MLS club, in terms of the impact on the field, obviously he would be head and shoulders above everybody else in the league. But I think also you would see, in my opinion, you would see a sort of what happens when LeBron goes to the Lakers, and maybe there's players who want to play with LeBron that maybe are willing to take a little bit less money. Maybe there's players like I think he, maybe David Beckham had that level at the time of like, he is so famous that people would do like anything they could to play on the same team as him.
Yeah.
I think Ronaldo absolutely has that. I could see so many
So
people
be a magnet
lining up
players.
to try to play for Ronaldo's team.
All the college guys would be like, draft me to that team, draft me to that team.
Yep.
All right, put you on the spot.
Atletico Miami, here we go.
Which team would you put him on right now? If you could just choose and there was no barrier to entry, he couldn't argue, which is one of the MLS things, right? Just drop him onto a team, where would he go?
See, I want to say Columbus because that means they would like get record turnout and there's no way they could move. But it might also mean that he could move.
No, let's say he goes to Columbus, but he says to Garber and Precourt, I will join Columbus Crew right now, but I have to live in Columbus.
Yes.
I am not going to Austin.
I like it.
Save the crew.
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo could save the crew.
I mean, but the reality is...
Partner Jesse Zardes.
Perfect. The reality is it would be... I think Beckham's franchise, if that ever happens, is a likely contender for some of those big-name players. And then it really is, I think...
If you got Ronaldo, they'd just build some more land in the ocean and they would just put the stadium there to make it happen.
They may have to do that.
Yeah.
But I think... And I got in trouble for saying this once before, and I don't really know why, because...
Don't say it again, then.
The reality is he would want to play in New York or Los Angeles. That's where he would demand to play.
That's why I would prefer to see a big name like Ronaldo somewhere else.
Yeah, 100%.
Not with the coastal elites.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you could make the argument for Chicago. I think that's a big enough city with a big enough reputation.
Yeah.
But I think it requires some sort of
he
connection.
can buy a coach,
like
right?
Antoine Griezmann, if he ever came to Major League Soccer, there you go. If he ever came to Major League Soccer, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up at Chicago because he has the affinity for basketball. He went, he made the "I love Derrick Rose" comment after the World Cup. So I think you have to have that connection. So I think Ronaldo ends up in Florida, in New York, or in Los Angeles if he were to move to MLS.
There we go. Final thing I would like to say is Jason very specifically asked about the on-field impact. It would be impossible not to bring in the off-the-field impact, right? There would be an absolute circus around Cristiano Ronaldo wherever he went in the United States.
Absolutely, because it's also worth noting he is I don't even know how many languages he speaks, but he definitely speaks English and Spanish.
More than you and me.
Yeah, but he'd certainly be able to do those late-night talk shows in both languages, some daytime talk shows as well.
Be a busy fella.
He's also an attractive man, so I'm sure there'd be advertising campaigns and weird TV offers that do 3-episode arcs on some random sitcom. So I feel like that circus would just keep growing and growing wherever he was.
He could make the Seinfeld reboot happen.
Did it kind of? Oh, the reboot. No, let's never, ever do that.
They did it. It was called Mulaney.
Okay.
All right,
I'm glad you cracked yourself up.
So maybe Ronaldo comes to MLS in a few years. We won't be getting him at his peak, so we'll never really know the answer to Jason's question. But the answer was goals. All right, today's show is sponsored by SeatGeek. SeatGeek makes it easier than ever to buy tickets to live sporting events. There's only live sporting events, right? Music, comedy, anything else. Any entertainment tickets, you can buy it through the SeatGeek app or website.
I don't know if they do sports reenactments yet, but when they do, I'm sure you can get tickets to those events through SeatGeek.
One day they will do sports reenactments that you can go watch.
I feel like that might actually happen.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you can get tickets to, say, the MLS All-Star Game on SeatGeek, and that's where we will be this coming week, or next week, I suppose.
August 1st in Atlanta. It's the MLS All-Star Game versus Juventus. Yeah. So,
but not Ronaldo.
But not Ronaldo, right? But still Juventus. So, still good.
True.
So you took a look through the SeatGeek app to see what the tickets were like for MLS All-Stars versus Juventus.
Yes.
What did you see with your eyes, Taylor?
That they range from many hundreds of dollars to $50.
All right.
52, I think, was the lowest. It might have been 62. But either way, there are affordable enough tickets for the All-Star Game.
And if maybe you're thinking, that's $20 too much, I would prefer to play maybe $20 less. You can do that. With the SeatGeek app, you download it, you hit the settings tab, you enter the promo code TSS, and you get $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase.
That you do. So thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's episode of the Total Soccer Show. More questions, Mr. Grove?
Yeah. Would you like me to ask this one?
I think it's my turn.
I
forget how it works. All right. Costa Caliagas asks, for the 2026 World Cup, should Fox consider talking to NBC and ESPN and possibly BeIN and trying to loan better announcers or analysts? Like get Ian Dark or Bob Lee or the Robbies or etc. Why not just try to get the absolute best analysts and announcers who will go in depth for the biggest show in the country when we host it?
All right, so I think I disagree with Costa's solution, but I agree that there's a problem. Okay, hear me out. I think Fox has announcers and analysts that are perfectly fine. I think the problem is higher up the food chain. I think someone at the Fox executive level, I don't know who, has basically said, here's how we were presenting 2018 World Cup. We're going to pretty much dumb it down, and we're just going to throw the biggest faces on the screen, and we're just going to talk about those big names, and that's all we're going to do. We're not really going to invest much time in analysis or anything else. So I would argue that it doesn't matter who you hire. It really matters what you ask them to do.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
You don't think it matters at all who they hire?
I mean, if you hired, who's a great analyst? Name me an analyst that you think would be good at the World Cup.
Gary Neville.
Gary Neville. Okay, great. If you hired Gary Neville, but all you gave him was 2 minutes in the studio at halftime and he's alongside like 4 or 5 other people and they're all talking over each other, you might as well not have Gary Neville.
Okay.
Yeah?
All right, but say they did change it. Say Fox learned their lesson from this 2018 World Cup.
Yeah.
They said we're going to give more in-depth analysis. We're going to do, like tactical breakdowns, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Then why do you think they should go for this loan approach?
So, for example, if you were willing to do some tactical analysis and really invest in it, get Keith Costigan to do it. Keith Costigan is on the books at Fox. Get Stu Holden, maybe have him do some play-by-play and colour commentary, but also have him in studio with Keith Costigan. Those guys can absolutely break down a game. I think what I'm trying to say is they have the talent and the personnel, but they're not being given the opportunity to do the types of things that people would like them to see. I think Alexi Lalas is a good example. When you've heard him on our show talking about the US, he has a lot of like insights and analysis of the US. He never gets to do it when he's on Fox because you're told to only do a certain thing. Do you remember the Eric Ronaldo tweets where he's told that he said that you're basically told to stick to the narrative and not deviate from the script. That's what has to change at Fox, not necessarily the personnel.
Right.
Okay.
But I think the bigger thing for me, I would agree with that, but the other thing in terms of this question is that Fox don't want to hire other networks people. They don't want to loan other networks people because that makes them look bad. It makes them look like they don't have the expertise and experience that they claim to have.
Oh, right, because it would be like admitting, like, hey, we don't quite have this.
Yeah.
If you had to do an emergency loan, that's like saying we didn't get our squad ready for the season.
Exactly. Yeah. And they would much rather rely on and develop their own talent.
Yeah.
And it is 8 years away, so they may still do that. And then that's not to mention all of the contractual issues that you would have to deal with if you ever tried to go with this approach.
So we talked about this off air, right? It's probably not impossible to get an ESPN person who's contracted to ESPN on a short-term loan to Fox. You could probably figure it out some way, right?
I think so. I mean, if anything, I feel like ESPN might be okay with that because it's so
exposure.
Obviously their person being hired by Fox. It is a good indicator, or it does show like, see, our guy's so good that Fox won.
That's true. The other element to this I would say is I don't know that much about TV production, but I would guess that you need to work with the crew and the producers to be comfortable. You couldn't just say get Taylor Twellman from ESPN and drop him into a Fox World Cup set the day before, and he doesn't know the staff's name and the producer's name and the researchers' names. You're suddenly like uncomfortable, and it doesn't work as well as it should.
Yeah, and it was, and to that point, I would say that Guardian article that came out I think it was a Guardian article that was really critical of Fox's coverage.
Yeah.
I disagreed with some of it. I agreed with some of it. One of the things I agreed with is it felt very strange the amount of rotation that we saw. And I think to your point, you do need to have kind of the same faces together for like more than just a few segments at halftime where they're kind of being told what to say, because you've got to build that chemistry and camaraderie. So I would also say the fewer may be the better. If you get 5 people and rotate one every now and then, that might be the better option.
And if we're giving unasked for advice to Fox, I would say
we always are.
The halftime show is only 15 minutes and you've got 2 ad breaks in there. Maybe don't have 4 or 5 people sitting around a desk, because then each person has very, very, very small piece of real estate to speak in. You can do it with 2 people or 3 people maximum.
All right.
Yeah?
There we go.
Right.
Well, so if Fox asks, they should loan us for the next World Cup, though.
We are available for hire.
Yes.
Next question. Matt Olivo has a question about the number 10 role. Matt wants to know, what are the primary differences between the number 10, the number 8, and the false 9 roles. He also wonders, when a team is said to be playing without a number 10, how much of that is a function of tactics versus formation, tactics or formation versus the qualities of a specific player. Should we take the first part first? What are the primary differences between a number 10, a number 8, and the false 9?
Sure. A number 10 is your primary playmaker. That's the person who's going to be linking the attack, creating opportunities. The number 8 is doing a lot of that shuttling work from defense to midfield. They're covering a lot of ground. Right. They're doing that work. A false 9 would be the 9 like dropping in almost and vacating the space so that other players can run into it, but also
vacating the striker space, right? You start as a striker, but then you drift away like Cesc Fabregas in 2010.
Yep. So they are all different things. And then I would say, like if you're playing a player who isn't usually a number 10 as a number 10, that's what the commentator will say. And we've done that before when we've been like, I can't remember a name specifically, but we've been like, and they're lining up with this guy as a number 10. Like, that'll be interesting. So I think it means that if they're not playing with a number 10, it means they're not playing with a number 10. It means they're playing with, say, a 6 and 2 8s.
Yeah. What about guys like Eden Hazard, who, when you think of like how dribbly he is, how creative he is, and I think he literally wears number 10, but he never really plays in the just simple attacking midfield, central attacking midfield spot, right? You think of like when he's playing for Belgium, he was mostly on the left side of a front 3. I think we've wandered into this new thing where there's not really a number 10, but you're basically still responsible for a lot of the creating, but maybe only on half of the field.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it has evolved in that way because you can't just have... It's very rare to have the James, free-floating number 10, who's allowed to just go wherever he wants. I think that's where this whole number 10 thing gets confusing for people.
I would agree.
I'm trying to give Matt as much number 10 information as possible. Yeah.
All right, do you think we've done enough of that then?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I'm sure Matt will let us know if we have not.
All right, but we've got another Matt with another question. Matt Koss asks, if FIFA had implemented an unlimited... unlimited, wow, that was difficult. An unlimited substitution rule for the 2018 World Cup, meaning you had limitless substitutions.
Like rolling subs, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Meaning a coach could sub in and out the same player as many times in a match as he wanted. Which team would have benefited the most?
My first answer is Croatia. Because Croatia played a press with older players and had lots of depth at mid and forward, right? So much so that like Nikola Kalinic was not happy as a striker and got himself sent home because he couldn't get enough minutes. Imagine if you could have been subbing Kalinic in for 10 minutes here and there, give Mandzukic a little rest. You could have rotated between all those Modric, Rakitic, Brozovic. You could have had who's the Madrid guy? Kovacic. You could have had him rotating in there. Like Modric and Rakitic in their 30s, they could have had a little rest. So the press could have kept its energy and the older players could have had more of a rest.
I got to be honest, I disagree with you completely on this.
That's fine.
Because Croatia, while you say like they had depth, but they stuck to the same like 14, 15 players, in my opinion. And I think part of that was, obviously you don't have rolling substitutions, but part of it is because Luka Modric and Ivan Rakitic can't be replaced. You can put in different people, but you're fundamentally going to change your approach.
Because they get just like a 10-minute break and then back in.
I mean, the other thing I would say is, like, do they want that? Like, if you're just pulling them out for 10 minutes, you might be breaking that rhythm. You might be taking them out of the kind of sequences that they're trying to establish.
All right, I still think I'm right, but if you're looking for depth, sheer depth, it's probably France. I think France had a lot of talent that maybe didn't get enough minutes at the World Cup. And with rolling subs, they could have had, Lamar coming in. They could have had Dembele coming in for a lot more minutes. Fekir could have got more minutes. So I think it would have been very helpful to France. The other side is they actually won the World Cup. So maybe they don't need that much improvement.
I'm surprised that we didn't have the same answer on this one.
Okay.
Because I would have thought you would have gone for the same team I did, which is Mexico.
Interesting.
Juan Carlos Osorio, if ever there were a manager who would game plan for rolling substitutions and how to use that effectively to, we've gone from a back 3 to a back 5 to suddenly a back 4. Now we've got 4 strikers and 2 strikers.
He would have strategy shifts coming in with his rolling subs.
I believe so.
That might be giving him sort of too much leeway and it could all get very messy.
I mean, that is definitely true. But the way I approach this, it just means, like, I think we just looked at this differently. Because the way I approached it was...
And you just assume my way was wrong.
No, it's just more so that's not the way I chose to approach it. That basically, if you're a team like Sweden, who do the same thing every single time, I don't think rolling substitutions really helps you that much.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a team that's dependent upon key players, then you're dependent upon those key players and you're not going to rotate them. I mean, we've had teams...
I agree with you about Croatia with the key players part, but the one part that you may have missed is that they were one of the few teams that really played a press. So it might have been valuable to them to be able to get fresh legs and keep pressing. You know what I mean?
I mean, I would agree, except that they made the World Cup final and looked okay.
So maybe they could go. They could go one step further.
Okay. So maybe that would have been the difference.
I have the real best answer anyway. Senegal.
Okay.
Because
that is kind of,
Niang coming in from the side managed to slide in and go in on goal.
Yeah,
if they could have perfected that with rolling subs, they'd be in on goal all the time with surprise substitutions.
Yeah. All right. That's a good shout. I think you might have the answer right there. Yeah.
Did you have another one? You said there's an obvious answer.
No, for me it was Mexico was the obvious answer.
Yes,
the only other one that came to mind was, again, Brazil, because they had the just completely different looks of Gabriel Jesus versus Roberto Firmino.
Yes.
So you can kind of change the way you attack. Maybe you go long, maybe you go a little bit more direct.
Yeah.
But then you switch out and bring in the creative players so that as soon as the defense has adapted to the long direct approach, suddenly you bring in the creative technical tiki-taka style, and suddenly they've got to adapt to that.
And you can also be like, all right, this is 10 minutes of Marcelo moments, and then now it's Luis Felipe moments.
Yeah.
Left back,
Felipe Luis,
you can go attacking and defending and attacking and defending.
Yeah.
They could still be Luis Felipe Scolari if they want as well.
Sure. If they really wanted to.
You got time for one more ad, Taylor? Today's show is sponsored by...
You know that I do.
Today's show is sponsored by Simple Contacts. Simple Contacts, I know your wife has used this service.
She sure has.
Could you please relate her experience?
Sure. She had a prescription. She wasn't sure if it was still valid. It turns out it was. If it hadn't been, then she could have done the eye test and gotten a new prescription and new contacts.
That's because Simple Contacts is the most convenient way to renew your contact lens prescription or reorder your brand of contacts from anywhere in minutes. It is vision care for the 21st century.
That said, it is not a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam, but what it does do is provide you with excellent customer service. That was her other point, was that she got notifications about the prescription being accepted, about the order being processed, about the order being shipped. She kind of had all that information.
Reassurance.
Really, really fast as well. So she knew the contacts were coming. She didn't have to wait a couple days and hope and then get a confirmation email.
So I know your wife very well. I know that I am not as organised as your wife. So when I tried out Simple Contacts, it was because my contact lens prescription had expired.
Well, you don't have a glove compartment, which is where she keeps them.
There we go. So I had to do I got to do the online vision test, where you open up the app and you go 10 feet away and they do what they call the sight board, the letters, the vision test board. I don't know what it's called, but you know the thing I'm talking about. It's got a line of letters and you have to read them out. And if you get them right, basically, it gets reviewed and it's confirmed that your current prescription is the correct one, and they will renew it, and then you can get yourself some contact lenses through Simple Contacts.
What else can you get, Daryl Grove?
You can get $20 off, Taylor. Yeah, you get $20 off if you go to simplecontacts.com/TSS20 or you enter the code TSS20 at checkout. That's $20 off your order of contact lenses with simplecontacts.com.
Oh, you almost beat me to it, but I'm going to say simplecontacts.com/TSS20. A link to that will be in the show notes. Thank you very much, as always, to Simple Contacts for sponsoring today's episode of the Total Soccer Show.
You ready for another question?
Always.
This one comes from Nick Becker. Nick Becker wants to know, what's the difference between a volley and a half volley? Is it that one is half as good as the other? That wasn't what Nick asked. Nick asked, what's the difference between a volley and a half volley?
Sure. I think I'm correct in saying that a volley, and this isn't maybe how I would define it, but I think this is the technical definition, is a volley is a shot hit first time without the ball touching the ground, so you're taking a ball out of the air. A half volley is you're taking it after the ball has bounced and it's kind of rising back up, and then you hit it.
Yeah, so volley is clean out the air, half volley is on the bounce.
Yep.
Here's maybe so it's actually quite simple, right? But here's where I think it gets a little trickier. I would argue it's not a half volley. If you let it bounce, then it comes like all the way back up to waist height. I just think of that as taking a ball that's bouncing. I only think of it as a proper half volley if you hit it just as it comes off the floor. You know what I'm saying?
I do, but why?
I don't know. I think because it's not as impressive. If you're just letting it like bounce once, it doesn't have that really hard technical thing about it. So I don't call that a half volley. I may be wrong, but that's how I think of it.
Well, but you are letting it bounce, right? So then it takes that away?
But so to me, a half volley is like you almost like clip it at the same time as it hits the floor, and it just sits up a little bit and then you strike it. But if you let it bounce all the way up, like to your knees or your hips, like it's like a more slower type thing. It's not as hard to do, and it doesn't feel like it deserves a term half volley.
So you want that to be like a quarter volley?
Yeah, a quarter volley?
A quarter volley.
Quarter volley,
yes.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Take away even more? Yeah.
Maybe get that downgraded.
Okay.
You're not with me on this?
No, I mean, that makes sense to me. I mean, what I was saying is that, like, for me, a volley, I would have defined it as, like, the way you hit the ball or, like, the position of your hips or something like that. But really, I think I'm just going with, like, the simplest definition. But I'm with you that it seems like it invites some level of improvisation.
There we go. All right. Adam Ulrich wants to know, when a player gets injured and needs treatment, why do the medical staff who come onto the field wear soccer cleats? Wouldn't a pair of regular tennis shoes suffice?
Would you want me to answer this one, or do you want to go with this one?
I'd like you to answer this one. Why wouldn't a pair of regular tennis shoes suffice?
All right. I would say the same reason as the players, because you want cleats for traction, grip, and speed. I think you'd want that as for medical personnel as well.
I'm actually very interested in why Adam thinks that tennis shoes would be as good, right? Because if you've been on soccer field, it can be kind of slippy. The reason players wear those cleats to grip into the ground is to give them that grip and traction, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be sliding all over the place. Especially medical staff sometimes have to get on there very, very quickly, right? They can't be falling over on the way there. They can't be arriving at a player and then sliding past him because they've got no grips on their shoes, right? So to me, it's very important and very proper and respectable for medical staff to wear soccer cleats so they can move across the soccer field.
Yeah, because, if like, to go to your point, you're watering the field before every single game, so it's going to be slippery no matter what, and I think it's just the safe precaution, even if maybe it looks like you are going full kit.
So I wonder why Adam's asked the question. Does he think that maybe he thinks that the physios are maybe getting ideas above their station and thinking, I'm almost a player. I'm going to wear these. I'm going to wear my Predators to run on there to go and do the treatment.
I think it's probably just as simple as, like, why do those guys have to dress the exact same way as the players do when they're warming up? Like, do they need to be full kit? Is that some weird contractual thing? Like, it makes sense to me why you would ask, but it also makes sense to me why you would want the best footwear possible to give you the best traction, so you're not, like, slipping into an injured player or a concussed player and
make it worse.
Worsening the situation.
Add a slide tackle. Add injury to injury, as I believe the saying goes. All right, final question.
You want to ask them all?
Would you like to ask this one?
No, you can go.
Okay.
I will take this one too.
Brendan
in your face.
Brendan Massa wants to know, in American sports, it's common for teams to swap a surplus player from one position to bolster a weakness at another position. He's essentially describing trades, right?
Yeah.
If national teams...
Yeah, that threw me when I first saw this question, and then I was like, trades? You just talking about trades, okay.
If national teams could somehow do this, which trade would be the most impactful and beneficial for both countries?
Right. And I should add, I then did understand why Brendan phrased it this way, because it's not just swapping X player for X player. The idea being you're swapping an underutilized player for another underutilized player who would then help those respective teams.
Yeah, so it's got to work out. It's got to be a win-win, right?
Yes.
It's the opposite of the way Donald Trump sees trade.
Perfect. I would say a big one that maybe is slightly unbalanced, but based on the way they were utilized, I would say Javi Martinez of Spain for Paulo Dybala of Argentina. The way they were used in this last World Cup, Javi Martinez not at all used, but I think Argentina definitely could have used a defensive midfielder who's good in possession. That's Javi Martinez.
Or a centre-back, and he can do a bit of both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
And then Paulo Dybala, I think, could have, maybe we had the question on one of the last shows about, like, what could Spain have done differently? They could have had a player like Paulo Dybala.
The game against Russia where they couldn't get through.
Who's going to try stuff, go at people, dribble at people, draw fouls, create opportunities. I think that would be a good swap for two underutilized players.
That's a really good one. I think there are lots of good ones. I've got one for you.
What you got?
It also is about Spain.
Okay. I've got a few of those too.
But it's about England as well, right? I looked at England's midfield and I enjoyed Jordan Henderson, but I just thought England could maybe do with an upgrade at that spot. How about Thiago Alcantara, who did not start enough games for Spain? Yep. I think if Lopetegui had been the coach, he would have been key.
Did he start any?
I think he got one. I'm not sure now. The World Cup is receding in the distance, right? But I think, especially in the Russia game, Koke was favoured as a starting midfielder. I want Thiago Alcantara to go to England, upgrade the midfield, add a little bit of extra smarts, a little bit of extra craft. And in return, I think Spain could have either, let me know which one works better. If Spain are trying to break down opposition, do they want Jamie Vardy off of England to cause double trouble with Diego Costa? Or do they want Marcus Rashford, who is a little too willing to try stuff for my liking, but I think it would be helpful for Spain when they're overly possessing the ball. Eventually, it gets to Rashford and he just turns and dribbles and shoots.
Yep.
That would have worked better.
Yes.
All right. But I do like the idea of Vardy and Costa partnering. But Marcus Rashford.
Similarly, I had Germany sending Leroy Sané to Spain for Alvaro Morata. Germany maybe needed a slightly younger...
Morata didn't even go to the World Cup, did he?
He did not.
Wow.
Slightly younger, physical physical striker who could have spelled Timo Werner or Mario Gomez.
He would have been a non-Gomez target man.
Yeah. And then Leroy Sané could have been that like direct, pacey winger who injected a little bit of life when you needed it.
Yes, that's a good trade too. Do you have any non-Spain ones?
Yes, I've got Brazil sending Alexandro to the left back / left winger, left wing back, excuse me.
Okay,
for the purposes of this.
Juve left back, again, did not make the World Cup because of Marcelo and Felipe Luis.
To Belgium, who needed a left wing back, for Raja Nainggolan, who also did not make the squad.
Beautiful.
So basically then Brazil get a player who could play alongside Casemiro or deputize in, say, the event that he got suspended and missed an important game where they needed a holding midfielder. That could have been Raja Nainggolan.
Okay.
And then Belgium get the left wing back that they desperately needed, so they don't have to change things around so much, and they're not relying on Jan Vertonghen to play left back.
Interesting. I've got a trade of two unhappy players. Kalinic from Croatia, who was so unhappy he went home. I think we mentioned him earlier. Trade that Croatian striker to Germany, so they have the striker, with Mesut Ozil, who was not happy in the Germany camp. I think he could have added to that Croatian trio in midfield. You'd have no defensive midfielders, but you could go Modric, Rakitic, Mesut Ozil. That team could pass and move forever.
All right. I like that one. Is there a player that England could have used, like Leo Messi aside, from Argentina, like an underutilized player from Argentina?
Dybala. If you've given England Dybala, if you've given England Lo Celso, I think that. I don't know if there'd be an upgrade on Ali or Lingard, but I would have liked to. I'd have liked to see it happen.
Because I'm trying to think, like, if England, I would say that maybe one of their backup goalkeepers is an upgrade on what Argentina brought to the tournament.
So
no disrespect to
Jack
Armani.
Butland.
I don't know Armani that well, but I have to believe that a player who starts in the Premier League regularly beats out a teenager.
So Jack Butland to Argentina.
Yeah, for Paulo Dybala.
Yeah.
I think
fair?
England would make that draw 10 times out of 10.
It doesn't feel fair, but you know what? You should have played Paulo Dybala.
Yeah, right? Yeah. You're the ones who made him underutilized.
Speaking of Argentina, I think if they wanted a real big upgrade at goalkeeper, they could have had Marc-Andre ter Stegen, Germany's keeper, in exchange for Sergio Aguero. How about that? So you get a really fox-in-the-box striker, and Argentina get a goalkeeper. He's almost as good as Manuel Neuer.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought the same things
both
about
have
Germany. Yeah, perfect. But I'm still having a hard time remembering all of Germany's problems and what one player would have maybe solved them, and I don't know who that would have been. So sure, why not Aguero?
I really think a lot of it was about centre forward stuff. Yeah. The guy I couldn't find a good trade for was Alex Iwobi. Because Alex Iwobi got dumped from the Nigeria team after the first game when they switched to that 3-5-2. But he's a guy who can really make things happen from like right wing, left wing, attacking mid. But I just couldn't find a good trade for Iwobi.
So you've transfer listed him then.
Yeah,
it's out there if somebody makes you a compelling offer.
Trade listed Iwobi. Someone should get him. Yeah.
We'll see who comes in for him.
Unai Emery might be doing the same thing. Thank you to Brandon for that question.
Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah.
It was a really tough but interesting question.
Yeah, thank you to Brendan, Adam, Nick, Matt, Costa, Jason, David, and Shreyas for all those questions. But before we go...
if you would like to ask us another question for a future show...
Before we go, if you would like to ask us another question for a future show, what can you do?
You can go to totalsoccershow.com.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm sure it was. totalsoccershow.com/questions.
Yeah.
Ask your questions in that form there. It populates a spreadsheet. Then we pull the questions from there. And if you subscribe to the Total Soccer Show and support us at $10 a month or more, we guarantee to answer at least one of your questions per month. Unless it's absolute nonsense. There is an asterisk, but unless it's absolute nonsense, we guarantee to answer one question a month.
All right. And if you subscribe at any level, we guarantee to send you a player to scout. You can then send us the reports on that player. We will then eventually read them on the show.
So we have scouting reports today on talented young players doing things around the globe. It looks from my piece of paper like we're starting with talented young Americans.
That is correct.
Yeah.
The first one being Andrew Carlton, scouted by James Jones. Andrew Carlton, the 18-year-old American winger for Atlanta United. Sadly, not for Atlanta United, too. Maybe not for him,
because
but
we were
for
at
us.
the Kickers game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Andrew picked up his first start for Atlanta United, starting at left wing in their 3-1 win over DC United. In the second half, Carlton made a deft move to create space for himself and then fired in across that while deflected, was headed in for the second of Martinez's 3 goals. He may not receive full credit for the assist, but it's still an assist for James.
I agree with that. And I think the DC player that he fooled wore number 10, so I think it was Luciano Acosta. But he really sent him the wrong way. Like, I'm going outside. No, I'm not. I'm cutting back inside, and I'm crossing with my left foot. Go on,
almost
Andrew
like the
Carlton.
person wearing number 10 shouldn't be defending Andrew Carlton.
Agree. Michael Curry is scouting Haji Wright, the now 20-year-old American forward, for Schalke. Michael says Haji Wright spent pre-season back with Schalke, but it seems Schalke don't have a place for him since he is now on trial with Union Berlin, Bobby Wood's old job. Let's hope he can get a loan move there, otherwise he may have few options for playing time next season.
Russell Varner is scouting Alex Mendez, the 17-year-old American midfielder for the LA Galaxy Academy, for now. It has been a week of ups and downs for Mendez. He was able to score a penalty in the shootout of the U19 Development Academy Finals against NYCFC, but the Galaxy lost that match. Days later, it was reported that Mendez made a trip to Germany to train with SC Freiburg.
All right, go on, Alex Mendez. Michael Thompson is scouting Chris Gloucester, the 17-year-old American left-back for Hanover. I'd kind of forgotten about this. 17-year-old Gloucester was called into the US U20 training camp, says Michael, for the first time in preparation for the CONCACAF U20 Championships taking place this November. And side note, that is the qualifier for the U20 World Cup. Gloucester turns 18 on July 28th, and his move to Hanover will go through then officially. I was just kind of sneaking around in the background right now.
The age range doesn't quite work, but I'm going to say this has like Rookie of the Year-esque moments to it, because you've got Chris Gloucester in the Henry Rowan Gardner like youngster coming through who can suddenly do things, and then I think Bobby Wood is Gary Busey.
I haven't seen.
Who's like the jaded veteran who sort of was like, I've seen stuff and I used to be like you.
I'll be honest, I didn't get any of those references, but I just laughed when you said Gary Busey.
Gary Busey is Bobby Wood, man.
His face popped into it. Jake Lamar is scouting Austin Trusty, the 19-year-old American centre-back for the Philadelphia Union. I've stolen a report, haven't I?
It's all good, my friend.
So Austin Trusty, 19-year-old...
What's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours.
Centre-back for the Philadelphia Union, but more the former than the latter. Austin Trusty has been selected to play in the homegrown game. We'll be there. It makes sense, given that he's played every minute for the Union this MLS season. Austin Trusty will join 3 of his Union teammates in Atlanta. He recently had some rough performances, but on Saturday in a friendly against Frankfurt,
hooray,
Trusty and co were able to hold a clean sheet in the 1-0 win. I don't think they did so well against Zlatan since this email was written.
Probably not. Carolyn Ikari scouting Kellen Acosta, the 22-year-old American midfielder for FC Dallas. Acosta subbed on in the 69th minute, and 5 minutes later scored a left-footed shot from well outside of the 18 in Dallas' 2-0 victory over the Chicago Fire. This marks Acosta's first goal since his return from a sports hernia surgery in February.
Have you seen the...
And there has since been news.
There has since been news. It's not confirmed, at least at time of recording, but there's a rumour that Kellen Acosta is being traded from FC Dallas to the Colorado Rapids.
Yes.
I'm very confused by this. I don't quite understand it.
I think the quick scan of the internets and Twitter indicates that he has had a falling out.
Both internets?
Yes, exactly. That he's had a falling out, so maybe it makes sense for them to send him off.
I speculate maybe this was part of his, hey, FC Dallas, I'm moving to Europe.
It's possible.
And maybe he started burning some bridges, but then that ends with you getting traded to the Colorado Rapids when Europe doesn't work out.
And there have been many jokes made that maybe trading him to Colorado is punishment. And it does seem kind of crazy given how highly rated he was and remains, that Kellen Acosta could be on the trading block for whomever comes calling.
All right. Jim Brochar is scouting Jonathan Klinsmann.
You seem so sad.
The 21-year-old... What, about Kellen Acosta?
Yeah, your voice dipped.
I thought he would be with the European team by now.
Yep.
I thought Kellen Acosta would be in Germany or the Netherlands or somewhere like that by now. Jim Brochar scouting Jonathan Klinsmann, 21-year-old American goalkeeper for Hertha Berlin.
He's in Germany.
He is. Jim says young Klinsmann hasn't made many inroads at Hertha, but he did start on Thursday in their 9-1 win over the training camp's local club, MSV Neuruppin. He played the first half and didn't allow a goal as Hertha went into half-time with a 5-0 lead, but he is still very much the third-choice keeper on the depth chart behind Rune Jarstein and Thomas Kraft.
Good pronunciation. Patrick Snyder scouting Nick Tatagui, the 19-year-old American attacking midfielder for Schalke.
Richmond local.
Tatagui has been working on his fitness with the Schalke U23s, but is reportedly going to get some looks in training with the first team now that they've returned from China. If he looks ready for first-team football, a loan may be on the horizon.
All right. I want to see Nick Tatagui get some first-team football.
I would be fine with that.
Injuries have been his problem in the last couple of seasons. I think we would have seen a breakthrough already, if not for injuries. So I'm primed. I'm primed for some Nick Tatagui dribbling and cutting in.
Ditto.
Ditto. Sam Nelson is scouting Ulysses Yanez, the 17-year-old forward for the LA Galaxy. According to Keith Costigan, Sam says, Ulysses will be in Germany this week to train with Bayern Munich. If good things work out, Uli could sign for a team in Europe next April when he turns 18.
Feels like Bayern have started to realize, hey, Major League Soccer has young kids there. Let's go sign them.
Chris Richards on loan. I don't believe we've assigned him in the scouting network yet, but young defender who played for them while on tour over here. Who else were they looking
at? Alphonso
Davies, a possible $12 million bid. Have I jumped on a scouting report? Is that in here?
You have not.
It is not. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, it should be.
Instead, we will move to Alex Forbes, scouting Reggie Cannon, the 20-year-old American right back for FC Dallas. He's also moving to college. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Dallas fans. Let's see here. Cannon notched the first assist of his MLS career in Dallas's 3-1 win over Chicago this past weekend.
It should be Cannon fired his first assist. Just saying.
You got a point. Reggie blew fired past Vincent with a hard cut back to the inside and sent a low left-footed cross into the box that Gruezzo calmly slotted away for Dallas' first goal. Cannon also made the homegrown team for the MLS youngsters' upcoming match against the Tigres U20s.
So here's another one we'll get to have a good close look at in that homegrown game. I'm really pumped for that. Pedro Ferreira is scouting Vinicius Jr., the 18-year-old Brazilian left midfielder for Real Madrid. Pedro says
Madrid burning bridges.
Vinicius Jr. is now officially a Real Madrid player. The move became official when he turned 18 in early July, and Real are expected to keep the youngster in the squad for at least their pre-season tour. Flamengo, his Brazilian team, had hoped to keep him until the end of their season, but Madrid weren't having it.
What Madrid want, Madrid get.
Yes.
Seems to be the narrative for this summer, at least. Jeff Markman scouting
and the last 50 summers.
Also that. Jeff Markman scouting Jeff Ryan Adelaide and Reece Nelson, 20 and 18-year-old midfielders for Arsenal, one of France, one of England. Ryan Adelaide and Nelson both scored in Arsenal's first preseason friendly against Boreham Wood, no idea where that is, which finished 8-0 to the relative Goliaths. In the first half, Nelson won a penalty and then scored a goal of his own. Ryan Adelaide scored Arsenal's 7th goal, spotting that the keeper was poorly positioned and beating him with a lower corner strike from well outside the 18. It was good to see both players get minutes with the first team, says Jeff, but it would be foolish to read too much into the result.
Alec Brew is scouting Davy Selke, the 23-year-old German striker for Hertha Berlin. Alex says, for the second straight season, Selke will miss the opening portion with injury. Selke suffered pneumothorax, also known as a collapsed lung, after a heavy collision in training.
Ow.
The club stated that he will definitely miss the season opener against Nuremberg on August 25th and is unlikely to be available by the end of September.
Get well soon, Davey. Alex Wayman-Farrell scouting Harry Wilson, the 21-year-old Welsh winger for Liverpool. Harry Wilson has officially been sent on loan to Derby County for the duration of the 2018-19 season.
Where he'll be coached by Frank Lampard.
With the signing of, there we go, there's the Daryl tradition. With the signing of Xherdan Shaqiri, it appears that Wilson was surplus to requirements, so his development will continue in the Championship. However, he joins English wonder kid Mason Mount in a promising Derby side led by Frank Lampard. Alex and other Liverpool fans were disappointed at the news that Wilson will not be given a chance with the Reds this season.
I'm excited about Mason Mount at Derby as well. Gillian Avalon is scouting Jack Storer, the 20-year-old Irish forward for Partick Thistle. Gillian says, in a Betfred Cup match against Greenock Morton, Partick Thistle won 2-0, in part thanks to a lovely goal from distance, courtesy of Jack Storer. These were Jack's first minutes for his new club, his first senior goal for any team, and, according to Twitter, he got man of the match.
All right, baby Jack. Good stuff. A good note to end on for the Scouting Network for today.
Certainly is. Yeah, always end with a goal and a man of the match performance.
Ideally.
So thank you to everybody who sent in scouting reports. If you'd like to join the network and support the Total Soccer Show, it is totalsoccershow.com/join. $5 a month or more, we guarantee to give you a player to scout. $10 a month or more, we guarantee to answer one listener question per month.
We certainly do.
But with an asterisk. Since you've done your comedy New York accent, we should mention that as well as the upcoming shows that we're doing, because the Cooligans are in town, right? We're in Richmond. We are hoping to have the Cooligans on the show, and we're planning a thing called a host swap, where, for example, we might do an episode of the Total Soccer Show, but we'll replace Taylor Rockwell with Alexis Guerreros, and we may do an episode of the Cooligans where, say, one of us will replace a Cooligans host.
I don't know if I'm as riff-tastic as Alexis Guerreros. I might be in trouble.
I guess you'll find out.
And I definitely can't hit my, Rockwell the way he can hit that Guerreros.
That was pretty good. You did sound like some sort of corrupt Spanish overlord from back in the day.
I was twirling my mustache while I did it. So that checks out.
All right, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. If you're listening before 7:30 p.m. on Monday night, you've still got time. TotalSoccerShow.com/tickets to get a ticket for our Richmond Funny Bone show. It starts at 7:30.
Do it.
Hopefully, we'll see you there or
hopefully
somewhere else in the United States.
Or somewhere else.
You gotta slice it.